Okay, and what is up everybody, it is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video. Today we're going to be looking at mixing some more pop punk vocals. We're going to be remixing the song Maybe from Machine Gun Kelly off his new album. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely nice to listen to something other than the 4 types of hip-hop songs and 5 types of pop songs that are out on the Billboard these days. You know, hard rock fans in disarray because of the fact that, you know, this is kind of making a comeback. But yeah, you know, let's get into it. I'm going to break down the vocal chain and I'll show you all the good stuff. Definitely check the links below for courses, vocal presets, etc. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, lately I'm not feeling like myself. I'm falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules. Yeah, never give a fuck, and you know how it goes. Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta cut you off right now like an interlude. From a distance, I was so into you. But I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
Alrighty, so there you go. That is the sound we have right there. We got tons of background vocals that we can focus on. We've got the main vocal chain making use of pretty much free, or you know, mostly free plugins. We got some Analog Obsession. We got some of the stuff that I've worked on. You know, we've got the F3000. We've got the Farai's Vocal Enhancer for FL Studio users. Pretty cool. But nonetheless, the techniques can apply in any DAW, regardless of if you're using Pro Tools, Ableton, whatever. I do customs, so check out the link below as well if you want me to make you a preset. But yeah, let's get straight into it, man. So first things first, again, pop sound is gonna have auto-tune, right? You've seen me talk about auto-tune before. Up to you, right? Lots of pop punk making use of Melodyne. You can use auto-tune, sing into it if you'd like. I prefer tuning vocals beforehand, that way you know what the end result is gonna sound like. And that way you can focus on just cleaning up the mix, adding in all those fun doubles. I have left the graveyard of muted double takes and things like that. I just wanted to show you for reference sake. Let's just delete those. But you know, the point that I'm trying to make is have fun, you know, recording your doubles. You know, definitely add, you know, like authenticity into them. You know, all of that wraps around that main vocal and gives it that sound. You know, you need that attitude. You can't just record into this and expect that you're gonna get this kind of fun and emotional sound, right? That's what gives it this character. And then, you know, these presets are then gonna enhance that, clean it up, make it sound like it's spanking that mix bus, you know. So yeah, man, auto-tune again. You know how I record my levels. So, you know, we've got 2 main vocal channels, exactly the same effects on them. I am making use of a 1176, so I will leave in the preset a 1176 preset that was custom tuned for this effect. But you definitely want to compress going on the way in, or just have a plugin that is doing the bulk of analog compression. That way you kind of get this kind of nice and compressed upfront sound. That way you don't have to compress too much. You can see I'm really not compressing too much once the mix starts, right?
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the.
You know, we're kind of making use of some Neve, some SSL style stuff, and it all adds up to kind of give us that wall of sound effect. So after that, what we do is, you know, I'm going for a Neve sound this time around. So we're going to be making use of a Neve channel strip. This is a free plugin from Analog Obsession. All I'm really doing is 80 Hz high pass filter. Okay, I want to kind of get rid of all of that low stuff we don't need. And then I'm doing a little bit of a kind of traditional rock style vocal EQ, which is really to kind of boost that upper mid range, to really kind of pop out our microphone. You can actually get away with using a dynamic microphone. Dynamic microphones sound really good over rock beds of music, you know, guitars, drums and bass. You know, you don't really need that incredibly loud top end, but you do want some of that kind of higher mid range, right? That kind of, you know, that kind of shrilly airiness. That's why you don't want to record too, you know, you want to make sure you're recording properly so that you can boost these. You don't want to run into the mic that kind of like screechy and then you can't really boost this, right? So, you know, we can do that. Again, you know, it really comes down to the key of the song as well. So 7.2 kilohertz might not work. Maybe you want to do a 3.2 boost. It really comes down to the song. So play around with that, see what you like. You could be doing a treble boost if need be. I think I did a little bit of a treble boost here. Now I actually just turned down the bass, and then that obviously left some of the treble in the mix. But yeah, moving on to the vocal enhancer, a little bit of EQ, as I said, tucking away that bass, tucking away that low mid energy. We don't really want too much of that because there's a lot of that drum, the toms and things like that. Really need to you gel with the vocals, right?
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta cut you off right now like an interlude.
Can you just see how the vocal has like a place in the mix and the drums kind of surround that? That's because we're treating that bass well, right? If we turn this off,
pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta get you off.
right there, it's kind of like slouching over the drums. We don't want that, you know. If we turn off this Neve EQ as well,
pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude.
right, we lose that definition, right? So we can use the Neve for definition, right? Poke out those frequencies that we need to. Then we can use an SSL style EQ to just kind of tuck away things we don't like. I'm also adding in quite a lot of tube drive this time around. If you want to hear how aggressive we can get with this tube drive.
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta get you off right now like an interlude. From a distance.
Right, we can already stress that vocal out. Vocal enhancer, beautiful. If you're an FL Studio user, check it out. It is awesome. I'm making use of a little bit of the flanger and reverb as well, just to kind of spread the vocal. Again, we will do that later. We'll talk about that. That's kind of our main EQ out the way. Then we get into our first stage of compression. Now, this is just going to kind of act as our safeguard before we start doing the rest of our mix, right? I want to kind of just tone back on transients that pop out, right? So whenever a word gets a bit loud, I can just tuck that back.
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta get you off right now like an interlude. From a distance.
And you can see how reactive that is with every line, right? Whenever there's a loud part in, you know, each line or each sentence, we can kind of just pull that back. And this adds a really nice character. It's kind of got a grabby sound, SSL, spanky sound. That's what kind of gives us that really nice, tight, upfront, stressed sound. So there you go, really fast release. You need a fast release so it distorts in a way, right? It's really fast, and adjust that to the speed of your song, right? Emo songs generally have a kind of fast tempo, you know, 88 is quite fast. So, you know, you can set that up for yourself. But yeah, really cool free plugin. You can check that out from Analog Obsession. After that, I make use of a multi-band compressor. And what this is doing is it is doing three things, right? It's kind of dealing with some of the more bassy parts of the vocal. It's dealing with a little bit of that mid-range just to make sure we don't pop out of the mix too much and kind of take over the space of the guitars. And then we're making sure that we are de-essing our vocal, basically controlling those S sounds. So pay attention to each red bar that pops up, and that's how much compression we're doing in each region. Each region is specified here. That kind of peach color one on the left is the bass, pink in the middle is the mid-range, very tight mid-range, and then we've got the rest just dealing with that kind of high end. And yeah, just check what's happening.
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta get you off right now like an interlude. From a distance, I was so into you. But I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
Pretty cool. Turn that delay off right there. But you know, as you can see, I'm not really doing much mid-range, but it is there. I don't know why this isn't enabled. I must have decided that I didn't want that.
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules. Yeah, never give a fuck, yeah, you know how it goes.
You know, not really needed in this particular song, but again, that option is there if you need it. So check these settings out, check out the attacks and release and things like that. After that, we open up this Fiverr EQ. Now this is a Neve style equalizer. That's all the description I get on the site, but damn, it sounds really nice, right? One thing I can do with this EQ, it's free by the way, so check it out, Analog Obsession again, is you can actually quite aggressively boost different frequencies and get away with doing quite a lot. You know, I'm boosting a 25k just to really open up that top end, and I get a really nice sound, right? All I'm really doing is kind of toning the vocal, just kind of blending it in with the mix, you know, keep it easy. You know, have a reason to EQ, don't just EQ because I said so or because someone on the internet said so. Have a reason to do that. I pull this up. I'm tucking away a little bit of that 13k. I found it was popping out a little bit too much. It has kind of a ringy sound in that range, so we want to deal with that. Tuck that back. Boost a little bit of that 295 just to give the vocal some of that warmth, you know what I mean? After kind of tucking away, you know, with the compressor earlier on, we kind of bring that back in, but this time more leveled. And then, yeah, just again, tucking away some of that 130 and below. One cool thing you have with this EQ is you can actually distort it a little bit. So if you don't have the vocal enhancer, you can actually use that. I think the bridge channel also has distortion. I didn't want to distort with it. I think it actually lowered the volume, so I didn't use it in this instance. I think this one sounds a bit better if you want to hear it.
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules. Yeah.
Sounds cool. I'm still gonna gravitate to this. I think this sounds a bit cooler. It's a lot more flexible as well. But yeah, you know, that's how we do it. After that, I pull out the parametric EQ. I could have used a stock one. I just happened to have this pulled up and I started EQing, and I didn't want to redo these EQ points. So you know, all I'm really doing again is just tucking away frequencies I don't like. This is going to be, again, key specific, right? Depending on what scale you're working in, different frequencies are going to resonate. So you're going to want to deal with kind of resonant frequencies that don't line up with the track, right? That kind of make things not sound good. And you know, you just want to deal with the vocal where, you know, you may kind of, for me personally, around 3.2, 3.6, there's always kind of like a spike in my voice. So I want to deal with that. But yeah, nothing crazy. Again, have a reason to EQ. Okay. After that, we're using a Neve style compressor. This is I think about emulation 33609, probably. This is the one with the automatic attack and release, and I'm making use of that. I think this is the limiting section. Basically, I'm just using this to squash the vocal a little bit, give it some of that classic British sound. Okay, a lot of the rock artists, engineers, you know, the Beatles, etc., you know, Abbey Road, there's a lot of traditional kind of techniques that have been taken from that era, and you know, you can mimic that to kind of, you know, get that style going. So, you know, that's what we're doing. If I turn off both of these compressors,
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules.
you know, it kind of sounds like the vocal is not really vibing with the instrumental, right? Once we turn that on, we kind of tuck back that vocal a little bit.
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules. Yeah, never give a fuck, and you know how it goes. Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude.
So there you go, you know, it has that spank. So after that, man, you know, when it comes to mixing radio style vocals, you always want to have a little bit of kind of like a secret effect going on in the background, just to give it a little bit of that sido width or sido effect, sido depth, whatever you want to call it. And I'm using the F3000. I really haven't been using it enough, but it, again, for those who don't know, is mimicking a machine we have in the studio, which is called, or goes by the name Eventide H3000. And that is a really cool, famous piece of gear. It is a multi-effects unit, and essentially what it does is it can, you know, do pitch shifting effects. It has a little bit of delay on it, a little bit of reverb on it, and we have mimicked that for use in FL Studio, so you can definitely check this out. If you want to hear what this particular effect, I'm pretty sure I'm using the, we have tons of effects, by the way. I'm pretty sure I'm using the refurbished F3000, something like that, and then I just adjusted the 16-bit warm, so it essentially distorts the plugin more. But if you want to hear it,
Falling and you just can't save me. Doing what I want, I break the rules. Yeah, never give a fuck, and you know how it.
so obviously it kind of pulls the vocal back into the mix. If we use just a little bit, we kind of get a cool sound. But yeah, that's the main vocal chain. You know, got a nice spanky vibe, nothing on the vocal bus. When it comes to effects, you know, I want you to hear how we can kind of stack things up. You know, we've got a doubler right here,
You just can't save me.
and that's just kind of a standardized, you know, on a mixing console, I would get an EQ like this, just poke out like 5K and duck away all the bass, and you end up with this really cool kind of radio sound. So nothing special. You can use any EQ to achieve this, but you want to be using some sort of old school, you know, flanger effect. If you cannot afford this, again, the F3000 is also a good option. We do have an H910 preset somewhere here. There we go. We have got all sorts of cool things. But, you know, again, you want to use some sort of flanger to space your vocal out. If I just play this for you,
You just can't save me.
that's cool. It's got that radio effect. It's got that rock effect, but this just spreads it and allows it to kind of wrap itself around the main vocal.
You just can't save me.
You know, with the main vocal,
Falling and you just can't save me.
just kind of sitting at the bottom of that vocal, nice and low in volume. After that, we've got the distorted emo ad-lib. This is just a track I made. I wanted a little bit more of an aggressive sound, so that should be here.
I'm falling and you just can't save me.
And again, we kind of just going crazy with saturation and different types of effects. You know, we've got, if I play those two together,
I'm falling and you just can't save me.
you know, they blend together well. We want everything to blend together well. After that, we've got a screamo. This sounds really cool.
You know how it goes. But you got a bad attitude. Gotta cut you off right now like an interlude.
Right, it sounds crazy on its own. It's supposed to sound crazy on its own, but in context with the mix, you know.
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta cut you off right now like an interlude. From a distance, I was so into you. But I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
Right, really cool. Kind of gives us that screamo effect. Kind of sounds like corpse type stuff. But, you know, emo ad-lib right here again.
Interlude. From a distance, I was so into you. But I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
You know, that on its own.
From a distance, I was so into you. I made up my mind, I know
overdrive pedal stuff. And then we got some cool rock sounding left and right channels, right?
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
And again, because I'm using an 1176 compressor, I'm getting that compression up front. So I don't need to compress here, but I am going to tweak the EQ. I'm going to add a little bit of de-essing.
From a distance, I was so into you.
I don't want those highs to kind of pop out and kind of distract you from the main vocal. So that's what we're doing right there. Really cool. Once we add that all together, we've got a nice kind of crunchy symphony going, right?
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do. From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
That sounds really cool, right? Again, I got some cool stuff, some kind of outboard tricks. Sometimes what I do if I want a vocal to kind of pop out more, I'll actually pull a microphone out in the studio and actually record these speakers. If you're in a cool sounding room, you can get a really vibey effect. Maybe you've got like a spare attic or like a basement that's empty. You can do that, put a speaker in that room and record that sound, and then you can use that. In this case, I just used the studio and then I kind of distorted it.
My mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
And that's just an effect, that's just a kind of dry vocal.
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what.
And then again, I just add in those effects. And then I do that, you know, twice or 3 times, right, in total. But with the left and right, I pull the microphone even further back in the room, and then we get a kind of more crazier sound.
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
And then I just add some delay to make it sound even further back. And then some kind of compression.
From a distance, I was so
just to really compress it, make it sound crazy. And you know, we get this kind of cool little background effect.
From a distance, I was so into you.
Whoop, this needs to be lowered. But you get the idea, right? If we pull those up.
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
So mess around, you know, again, have some fun. I also decided to do a outboard H3000 effect. I think I used a slap delay and I heavily de-essed it. So this was the preset I used. I did use it going out of the box, so that's where it is, but just to show you for reference.
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
Sounds beautiful, you know, all of those effects together.
From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
You know, it's got that kind of classic oil tanker slap delay sound, but altogether, all of that, you know, gives us a really nice, crunchy, upfront, beautiful vocal.
Pretty girl, but you got a bad attitude. Gotta cut you off right now like an interlude. From a distance, I was so into you, I made up my mind, I know what I'm gonna do.
Cool, and you know, if you follow these techniques, you are going to be pop radio ready, whatever you want to call it, emo, whatever. You know, again, it's fun to listen to different types of music, definitely experiment, listen to all genres, have fun, record with attitude if you want to make this effect work. And yeah, as always, check out the links below. If you want to learn how to record like a pro, check out my link, or check out my course for the vocal recording course. If you want to mix like a pro, check out the course, vocal mixing for beginners. And yeah, have a good one, keep mixing, keep recording. I'll check you next time. Peace out.